Hi, welcome to Flower Pot Mosaic Studio, and today I'm going to show you how to grout a pot. It's the same principle as grouting anything else, but I thought it might be useful for you to see me grout a pot as it's a bit of an awkward shape. So let's get started. So what I've got here, I've got something to protect the table. This is just a black bin liner that I've just cut in half because it can get very, very messy. I've got some water. I've got my grout, which I've popped in this little old yogurt pot. Use anything that you want to throw away afterwards. I've got something to mix up my grout, and I've got a bucket of water and a sponge. And you'll see it's quite a large sponge, and you'll see why, and when I start the process, why it's handy to have a big sponge. So first things first, even before this, you will have checked your pot and made sure that everything is stuck on, because if anything's loose or vulnerable, it will come off during the grouting process. So just sort of make sure you've got some good marigold gloves on, because it could be sharp pieces of tile, and you just want to sort of just go around checking, making sure that everything is stuck on. I'm quite satisfied that it is. Not to say that something will fall off during the grouting, it happens. It's nothing you've done, it's just something that happens, and I will show you what to do if that is the case. So we'll get started. So I'm going to mix the grout up now, and it needs not as much water as you'd probably think, really. So I'll just put some water in to get me started. You'd be surprised as how little water you need. A bit like icing sugar, where you only need to add little bits of water. It is really tempting at this stage for me just to keep going with the water, but I'm not going to. I'd rather just spend a bit more time adding little bits of water. Now, if you've bought one of my pot kits, well, I really hope you enjoyed the process of making it, and you will have been given a bag of grout, which is actually the same colour as this one. This is a grey grout. So leave some in the bag. Don't put all of it in the pot, because if you make a mistake and you put too much water in and it gets really, really runny, then you've got a little bit of powder left to add to it. So I'll just keep going. And then all of a sudden you'll see that it sort of changes consistency. It's still a bit too thick, so I'll add a tiny, tiny drop now. This is the stage where you can literally overdo it with the water. It's coming now, a nice consistency. So give it a really, really good stir. I've used this old palette knife for years, but you can use a wooden stick, whatever you've got really, an old spoon. Now I'm going to add just a tiniest drop, which will make a big difference. Tiniest drop. Oh, there we go. That's brilliant. So that is a really nice consistency now. It almost looks a bit like toothpaste. So when I lift up the spatula, it drops off, but it's not dribbling down. You can can you see the consistency that you really, really want it? You don't want it any thicker than that. That's about the right consistency. If you've poured all your powder in, you've done your water, and it's still really running and you've got no more powder left, if you just leave it just for 4 or 5 minutes, it will thicken up. But it's not ideal. You really want to get it exactly like that if you can. Okay, so I've got my grout there. Move my water away. So here we go. So I pick up my pot in my hand. I find this a lot easier. If you were doing a bigger pot and it was quite heavy, if you just put some newspapers on your lap, you can sit down on a chair and do it. But I find it easier to put my hand in. I'm not worried about any grout getting inside the pot, because it all cleans off. So I literally go in with my hands like that, and I literally just smear whole thing over like that. This is can be quite worrying if you've never done it before. You think you're actually ruining your mosaic, but you're not. You're making it even better than it is to start with. So you can see how I'm just with my fingers, quite gently. It might not look gentle on the video, but I'm actually doing it quite gently, just working my way around, filling all those cracks in and making sure I go around the edge on the bottom like that. So I'll just keep going all the way around. It's a lot easier than trying to do it like that, as to pick it up and have it in your hand. Mixing it all in. And at this stage, if I was doing this and something just fell off one of the tiles, I'm hoping it might do that today, but it probably won't. Don't worry about it, just carry on. Just make sure you've still got your tile. But literally just carry on. If something just falls off now, don't worry, just carry on as if it's not happened, because it is fixable. I'm going to keep going. Nearly there actually. This is the last little bit. There we go. I think now that's it all covered. I'm quite confident. I'm not worried about anything that's going on here. You want to make sure, again, go around that bottom rim there. Don't worry about the grout on the bottom. So that's all covered up. Now, what is really, really important is you don't go away now and have lunch or ring your friend, or you've got to get this off straight away. Don't leave this grout on here because it will dry really, really quickly. Now, you can literally go in with the sponge and start the process of cleaning it. But there's a lot of excess grout on there. So for me, to save getting my water really dirty really quickly, I use, it's a kidney, let's pick it up, I can't pick it up with my gloves. It's called a rubber kidney. I get them on Amazon, you get them on eBay. A lot of ceramicists use them, but they're really soft and they're really great for getting off, grout. You can literally just, you can see how I'm just very gently. You could use an old credit card or a piece of card. If you think you might be doing this more in the future, I would definitely invest in one of these because it's brilliant. And you can see all the excess grout I'm getting off there. It just helps you with your cleaning really, but you don't, if you haven't got anything, don't worry, you don't have to do it. The sponge will do it. It'll just take you a bit longer, that's all. So I can just see that I need a little bit more grout just in that little area there. That's it. I'll just do one final sweep with my little rubber kidney. That's it, brilliant. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go straight in with the sponge. So straight in with into the bucket. And again, a really, really important part of this process is to actually wring as much water out as you can and give it a really, really good squeeze. You don't want that sponge dripping with water. You want it damp. And now what we're going to do, we are going to start the process of cleaning the grout off. So all you do is you wipe, you turn the sponge over and you wipe again. And you keep doing that. Now the water goes dirty really, really quickly, but don't worry about that. You only need this one bucket of water. So I'm going to go in, wipe, turn the sponge over and wipe again. I mean, you can use the sides of the sponge. This is why the bigger the sponge, the better. You don't want to go back over with the dirty side because it's just going to rub grout along the top of your pot. So I sort of keep going like that. And again, if something had fallen off, you still at this point don't have to do anything about it at the moment. It is typical. When I would like something to fall off, it won't. So you can see how it's looking quite clean already. And I've only done it, what, 4 times? So now I'm going to go in on the bottom and I'm going to get rid of all that because that will dry like a stone. You don't really want that. So I'm just sort of rubbing it off You could use something, because you can see how already it's drying. You could use something just to scrape the bottom off to make life easier for yourself. And then again, just go in with the sponge. And you can see that's nice and clean now. You don't have to do anything else with that. And it's got quite a nice clean edge. Grout is sort of like a miracle worker, really. It just goes where you want it to go. So it's filled in all that area there. So squeeze again, make sure you don't want that water dripping. You want it just a nice damp sponge. I'm just going to go in now, just on the inside. Just make sure there's no lumps of grout in there. And then I'm just going to go over once more now, I think, with the sponge, because I think that's probably about all you need to do at this stage. Now, if nothing's fallen off and you haven't got to do anything else to it, you would put that down just like that and leave it, I don't know, about 4 or 5 hours. And then it'll go all dusty and you'll find a nice film of dust on the outside, and you just get a wet cloth, wipe it off, and then buff it all up with a nice dry cloth. And that is it. It's not too difficult as you watch me just do it now. I know it can be quite nerve-wracking if you've never done it before, but once you've done this, you can basically grout anything. Now, so say something had fallen off, say this tile had fallen off. So what you would have to do before you leave it to dry is just clear out that area where the grout is, because as soon as this pot's dry, you're going to stick that tile back on with whatever glue you've got. Stick it back on, and once it's dry, you can mix up a tiny, which is the reason why I say leave a little bit of grout in your bag, because you can mix up a tiny little bit of grout, and just with your finger you can just repair that area. If it's a piece that you don't even know where it went, it's such a small piece, then you don't have to worry about it. But obviously something like this, you're going to notice if one piece is missing. So that's it. I mean, it's not perfectly clean at the moment, but that's actually fine. And any adhesive that was on the outside will have just come off. And if it's still on there, just scrape off with your finger. So I would leave that now. I wouldn't be tempted to do anything else with it until it's nice and dry. And then that's it. One thing to mention is your buckets of water, which has now got grout in it. You really don't want to put this down your drain. So what I do, I just put it behind a bush in the garden. It doesn't kill any of the plants. If you haven't got a garden and you haven't got anywhere to put it, if you leave this for 3 days, the water literally just, the grout sinks to the bottom, and then it's clear water on the top, which you can then put down the drain, but then you've just got to scrape out the grout. So if you can put it behind a bush in the garden, or the neighbour's garden, that's fine. So that was just something to mention. So that's it. So I hope that was useful for you. And obviously the bigger the pot, the longer it's going to take. That didn't take very long at all. Nothing else to mention apart from sometimes you get little air holes in the grout, little tiny little holes that appear. But this was, for some reason, that only happens a lot with white grout or light coloured grout. This is a grey grout, which will dry lighter. It doesn't tend to get air holes in it, so it must be sort of a chemical compound in there that makes that. But there is no, I can't see. But it's well worth just looking at your pot quite closely before you put it down, just to make sure. Because obviously, if you've missed anywhere, you could just go in with your finger and repair it. So that's it. So I hope you enjoy that process, because it's lovely. It's like magic. And it makes your pot look much nicer than when it started. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you found that useful. Thanks a lot. Bye.